Hi guys, Mrs. Beer here. Hope you haven't missed me. It's been super great to be able to see quite a few of you picking up your Chromebooks or hearing your parents picking them up and seeing I was kind of off in the back office. But anyway, I did want to finish our book, Noodle. Hopefully, we will conclude it today and look for another video. When I get done with this one, I am going to be reading a book featuring these two characters you might recognize. Elephant and Piggy, Piggy and Elephant. So look for another video after this one. Please make sure you're taking your AR test on this. This is Puppy Place, Noodle by Ellen Mills. Here we go. We left off on page 57. But she could not make out the letters BLKI. She read Blackie, and there was a phone number, at least part of one. Blackie, Lizzie said, but why would anyone call you Blackie? She stared at Noodle and then back at the collar in her hand. The golden hairs trapped in the cloth glinted in the sun. Oh, Lizzie said, I get it. Suddenly she figured it out. It was the collar Noodle had been wearing, but it had once belonged to some other dog. Obviously, Noodle's people didn't love him. They didn't even care enough about him to get him his own collar with his own tags. They must have thought that a faded old hand-me-down was good enough. Lizzie was disgusted. She gathered Noodle onto her lap and gave him a big hug. You deserve better than that, she whispered into his ear. You deserve the best collar in the world with shiny new tags that say your name. Noodle licked Lizzie's cheek and nibbled on her chin. Lizzie laughed. Okay, I get it. You don't really care, do you? But I do. I care a lot. She got to her feet and Noodle jumped up too, eager to do whatever Lizzie was eager to go wherever Lizzie was going. Together they walked all the way around the shore of Loon Lake back to where the others were waiting. Look what Noodle found, Lizzie said. Dad and Charles and Sammy were perched on a picnic table throwing sticks for Buddy. Lizzie climbed onto the table and handed the collar to Dad, telling him all about what she'd found. I'm not sure your mom would be thrilled to hear about you climbing sideways trees over the ice, he said, but Lizzie could tell he was kind of proud of her. Then Dad took a closer look at the collar with Charles and Sammy leaning over his shoulder. Interesting, he said. It sure looks like Noodle was wearing it, even though I can't imagine anyone calling him Blackie. Plus, it looks way too big for Noodle. Exactly, said Lizzie. That's probably why it slipped off. It's a hand-me-down collar. So now we can just call the number on the tag and find Noodle's owners. Charles ruffled Noodle's ears. That's good news. Lizzie did not exactly agree, but she kept that to herself. How many times had she told Charles that he just had to understand that they weren't going to be allowed to keep the foster puppies they cared for? Now here she was, wishing more than anything that she could keep Noodle forever. That may be easier said than done, Dad said, peering at the tag with a phone number on it. The number's kind of worn off. When they got home, Dad took the name tag off the collar. Mom joined him at the kitchen table while they passed it around, looking at it under the magnifying glass. The bean squirmed his way onto Lizzie's lap so he could see. Ugh, Mom, the bean is really starting to stink, Lizzie said. Can we please wash his fur? She didn't even want to touch it. Was that toothpaste down the front and a piece of gum stuck to one sleeve? Gross. No, Bean said firmly. Mom shrugged. I did tell him it was his choice, she reminded Lizzie. I have to stick to that. It's only fair. May I remind you when you ran around in pink cowboy boots and a tutu for pretty much the whole year you were 3? Why? Because I agreed that you could. A deal's a deal in my book. Deal, Bean agreed, nodding hard. His lower lip was stuck out far enough to trip on. Any minute now he would start wailing. Lizzie sighed. All right, sorry. Forget I said anything. It's okay, sweetie. Don't worry. She patted the Bean's back, trying to avoid the crusty spots on his fur. Dad was still looking at the dog tags. So I can read the last part of this phone number all right, he said. I think it's 555-7272. But the area code is just totally gone. It might start with 8, though. So how many area codes are there starting with 8? Charles said. No big deal. We'll just try them all. Chapter 8. Charles's plan made sense to Lizzie, and she knew that trying to find Noodle's owners was the right thing to do. So right after lunch, she sat down and started dialing. She was using the kitchen phone because Dad's cell phone, which the whole family used for long distance calls, had completely run out of power, and Dad still couldn't find his charger. Hello? Lizzie swallowed hard, suddenly realizing that she should have thought about what she was going to say before she dialed the number on her list. She started with area code 802, Vermont. She should have tried 801, but that was Utah, and it seemed way too far away for Noodle's owners to live. Hello, she said. I was just wondering, do you have a dog named Blackie? Or I mean, did you used to have a dog named Blackie and now you have a puppy like maybe a golden doodle? Maybe he's missing? Excuse me, is this some kind of prank call? The woman on the other line sounded completely confused, and Lizzie couldn't blame her. But obviously, this was not Noodle's owner. Otherwise, the name Blackie and the mention of a missing puppy would have meant something to her. Never mind, Lizzie said quickly. Wrong number, I guess. She hung up and looked at the list of numbers on the pad by the phone. Then she crossed off the area code 802. There were at least 15 more to try. Lizzie sighed. To be honest, she didn't really even want to find Noodle's real owners. She glanced over at the dog bed in the corner of the kitchen where Noodle was snoozing after his own lunch. His puppy belly was full and round, and his soft big paws were twitching. Lizzie knew that meant he was probably dreaming about running. Chasing squirrels, Noodle? She said softly. She could have watched him all day, even when she was just lying there sleeping. He was such a sweet puppy. Noodle's nose twitched and he opened one eye to look at her. Lizzie laughed. That made Noodle jump right up and gallop over to say hello. Hi, hi, hi. How about some pats? I love the way you pat me. It reminds me of the way my people pat me. Think I'll see 'em again soon? I sure hope so. I mean, I like you a lot, but as nice as you are, you're not my people. See, so Noodle does have an owner. Lizzie reached down and pulled the little pup onto her lap. You are the cutest, she said. I mean, next to Buddy, that is. She kissed the top of his head. And you smell so good, especially compared to the bean. You really had to do something about, they really had to do something about that fur. Meanwhile, it was time to try another phone call. This time, Lizzie tried to figure out what she was going to say before she dialed. The second call did not go much better than the first. Hello, the man answered. Who answered spoke loudly and sounded annoyed. Hello, my name is Lizzie Peterson, and I found a puppy, or rather a purple collar. Well, both really, and click. The man hung up before Lizzie could even finish. How's it going, Miss Lizzie? Dad came into the kitchen wiping his hands on a rag. He had been working on his pickup truck out in the driveway. Lizzie sighed. Not very well, I guess. Tell you what, Dad said, why don't I try for a bit? Maybe folks would listen a little bit better to a grown up. Anyway, we need some of your famous signs. How about if you head upstairs and get to work on the computer and I'll take over on the phone? Lizzie was happy to hand over her list of area codes. Come on, Noodle, she said. Let's go upstairs. Noodle scrambled to his feet and followed Lizzie out of the kitchen. Sure, sure, I'll go anywhere with you. What are we doing next? Maybe we're going to see my people. Upstairs, Lizzie got out the camera and posed Noodle on the blue rag rug next to her bed. First, we need a great picture, she said. Look at me, Noodle. Noodle jumped up and ran over to Lizzie, sticking his nose right up into the camera. Lizzie giggled. No, Noodle, you have to sit. She put him back into his position. Then she stepped away and looked through the camera again, focusing on Noodle's adorable face. Ready, she asked. Noodle jumped up again. This time, Lizzie just put down the camera and gave him a big hug. You are the silliest, she said. She lay down on the floor and let Noodle dance around her, snuffling her hair and licking her ears. It was so much more fun to play with Noodle than to make a dumb sign looking for his owners, who probably didn't even care about him anyway. Noodle, Noodle. Lizzie looked up to see the bean peering around the corner of the door. Come in, she said. Want to play with Noodle? Yeah, the bean ran into the room. Noodle! He threw his arms around the puppy. Noodle squirmed away. P.U. Sometimes I like yucky smells, but a delicious pile of garbage is one thing and a stinky human is another. This little boy does not smell very good. Not like my people. Uppy, the bean asked. He tried again, reaching forward to give Noodle a big hug, but Noodle stepped away and the bean plopped down on his behind, looking sad and bewildered. Uppy, no play? Lizzie had a feeling she knew exactly why the Uppy didn't want to be near the bean. I think it's your fur, she said to the brother gently. I think Noodle doesn't like it the way it smells. But, the bean looked at her as if he might start screaming any minute. I'm not telling you to wash it, Lizzie said, held up her hands. That's your choice. But you know, every puppy needs a bath once in a while. Chapter 9. The next day was Monday, and Lizzie and Charles had to go to school. Lizzie could hardly stand to miss 1 minute with Noodle. Before she left, she kissed and hugged him so much that Buddy got jealous and came over to put his paws up on his knees. He wanted attention too. Of course I'll kiss you, Buddy, Lizzie said, kneeling down. I'll always love you best of all. But she bent down to whisper into a soft brown ear. Wouldn't you love a little brother? All day in school, Lizzie daydreamed about what it would be like if Noodle could live with the Petersons forever. When her parents first agreed that Buddy could stay, it seemed like a dream come true. Having a dog of their own was the best thing that had ever happened to Charles and Lizzie and the Bean. So, what about having two dogs? Lizzie could hardly even imagine how much fun that would be. So far, none of the calls they had made had turned up. Noodle's people. Maybe the Petersons would never find out who they were. Or better yet, Lizzie pictured this. They would find them, but the people would say they just really couldn't take care of the dog. They would ask if the Petersons knew anybody who wanted to adopt Noodle. Well, Mom would say, I never thought we could handle one dog, much less two, but we'd love to have Noodle. By the time school ended, Lizzie had practically convinced herself that Noodle was already hers, or at least that he would soon be hers forever. But she figured out that it would probably be best if she did find his people, just so she would know for sure that he really needed a home. She had a plan, too. During math period, when she should have been practicing fractions, she had been thinking dreamily about the day before at the lake when she had found Noodle's collar. Suddenly, she had remembered that she had seen paw prints in the snow near the tree. There was still enough snow on the ground that maybe, just maybe, she could find more paw prints and then follow them to find out where Noodle had come from. On the way home from school, Lizzie admitted to Charles that she had been hoping they could keep Noodle forever. But even if you find Noodle's owners and they don't want him, do you really think Mom would let us have another dog? Charles asked as he and Lizzie arrived at the front door. I bet I could talk her into it, Lizzie said as she pushed open the door. Hi, we're home, she yelled. Buddy, Noodle. The two, the two puppies came galloping into the front hall and the Bean running after them. Both puppies were barking and Bean was squealing with laughter. Noodle ran right up to Lizzie and Charles. Yay, you're home! Time to play! If only my people were here to play with us too, then this place would be perfect. Charles let Noodle lick his cheek. Then he made a funny face. What's that yucky smell? He asked, wrinkling his nose. Lizzie didn't say a word. She just pointed to the Bean and his matted fur. Oh, said Charles, right. He leaned away from his little brother. Buddy and Noodle were edging away from the Bean too. The Bean frowned. Lizzie saw him sniff the arm of his fur. Maybe, just maybe, he was almost ready to give in and let that stinky sweater be washed. Lizzie's mom came out of the kitchen. Lizzie, I called the police station again, she said. Lizzie felt her insides go all mushy. You did? She asked. Did you hear anything about any missing puppies? Mom shook her head. Sergeant Martin was supposed to get back today, but he called in sick. The officer who answered said he didn't think anyone had called about a missing dog over the weekend. Lizzie let out a breath. What a relief. If the police had gotten a call from Noodle, that would mean his people were looking for him, and that they really did care about him, and that they probably would want to take their puppy back instead of letting the Petersons adopt him. Lizzie pulled Noodle into her lap and gave him a great big hug. I know it's disappointing, said Mom. We all want to find Noodle's people as quickly as possible. Think how much they must miss him. Lizzie tried not to. Instead, she sent Noodle a thought message. Think about how much I love you. Noodle squirmed deeper into Lizzie's arms. Nice hugs. My people used to hug me like that. Even though this girl's nice, I still miss them. Mom, can you drive me and Charles to Loon Lake Park? There's something I want to check out down there. Lizzie put Noodle down and stood up. And we can take the dogs for a walk, too. By yourselves? Mom looked doubtful. Will you promise to be careful around that ice? Of course, said Lizzie. I won't go near it. Do you think I want to fall in? Well, okay, said Mom. I have some grocery shopping to do. I'll drop you off. On the way to the lake, Lizzie and Charles rode in the way back of Mom's van near the dog crate that held Buddy and Noodle. It was as if they were all trying to stay as far away as possible from the stinky Bean in his car seat. See you in a half an hour, Mom said as she let them off at the lake. Be careful, she called as she drove away with the Bean. That should be just about enough time, Lizzie said. She was holding Noodle's leash and Charles was holding Buddy's. Let's go. Once again, Noodle pulled on his leash, dragging Lizzie along the shoreline. She noticed that the ice was beginning to melt at the edges of the lake. It was hard to believe that a few short months she would be swimming in the cool, clear water. Most of the snow on the shore had melted away, too. Lizzie was disappointed. That meant they probably wouldn't find any tracks. Where are we going? Charles said, stumbling along with Lizzie. A few minutes later, they arrived at the fallen tree. See, this is where the collar was, Lizzie pointed to the branches over the ice. All the way out there? How did you get in? How did you get it? Charles said. It wasn't easy. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to finish the last little bit in our next video, okay? Thank you.